It's like people who step into a car and then get road rage, right? Second you step into a car, you get really impatient with everyone else in traffic. You become someone else. Why are you becoming someone else just because you walk into an office space? I don't get that. The second you walk out, you actually have the same complaints about the service and offer a product. So why don't you take those guys into a workshop, into your office, into whatever you have in your workshop, and actually be inclusive, be authentic about it, and go like, yes, we really want to hear from you. That rarely happens. It's mad, right?
There was a guy, I don't know whether you've run anything I've forgotten what the business was, but he was fabulous. He would have a conference about every 3 months with customers who they had lost. He would say, listen,
that's good.
Why? What did we do? And he said he did it because he genuinely wanted to learn, but he said it was a sucker play. 80% of them ended up coming back.
Exactly.
I mean, there are two issues. I mean, there's my issue or my, magic formula where I want to hire for EQ, but the part I think you referred to earlier, which is scarier, is why do people have these instincts and then lose them when they get into an organization? And I do think starting with a high EQ helps, but there are a lot of people who think they're supposed. There was a story somebody told me 1,000 years ago, and it sounds silly, but it has some resonance. And there was a guy who got promoted to boss, and he hid in his office. And some consultant like you guys came around and talked to him, and they said, "Why do you hide in your office?" And he said, "Because that's what bosses are supposed to do." And he said, "Why do you say that?" And he said, "Because that's what my boss did." And literally, I mean, it sounds so juvenile to say that, but there's a lot of truth in it. I mean, on the other side of the coin, life is complicated. All the research says open offices don't work, and which thrills the daylights out of me, but that's selfish because I die before I work. Oh, I've got to make my book plug. We are 20 years into the century, and I am willing to anoint a business book as best business book of the first 19 years of the century, and that is Susan Cain's book, Quiet. Have you had Susan on?
We've not had Susan on. One of my friends was just telling me about the book Quiet. She was really, really enjoying it, so it's already on my reading list.
Yeah, I adore it. I mean, what she basically says is, and I remember the first time after I read the book when I went to speak to a group, she basically says we dismiss roughly 40% of the population who are introverts. And, she goes through the research. And if you're an extrovert, you are considered smarter. You are considered more creative. You are considered to be more physically attractive just because you run at the mouth. And there's an incredible bias against introverts, because you're doing an interview and you ask an introvert a question, and Jesus, the guy actually thinks before he answers, but he's sitting there silently for 45 seconds, at which point you decide he's dumb. And he's sitting there actually because he's smart. But it's a beautiful, beautiful book. And Susan has, lawyer training. And I only say that because this is not somebody with a philosophy degree from Oxford who is going on about the wonderful things in life. She's trained as a lawyer. The book has got enough hard-nosed research to, sink an ocean liner. And it's just, and she started something. It's web-based. You can check it out before you get in touch with her. And it's called The Quiet Revolution. And she's really pushing this thing. And I remember because, I'm just a crackpot. I read the book and I went in and I was talking to leadership in a multi-billion-dollar electronic companies. And I said, by the way, I just read this book and I want to declare here publicly, you all in this room are jerks. And if you do that with a smile, you can get away with it. And I said, because my strong suspicion is you are pissing away 50% of the world's talent. And, we had a lovely, friendly conversation. But that also, incidentally, calling people jerks goes back to the other conversation. I am, he said with absolute humility, I am considered to be a pretty good speaker, and I am convinced that I have only got one secret, and that is I am one of the better readers of body language. If you can read the body language of an audience, you can give a good speech. And I believe that religiously. I actually talked to a psychiatrist and asked him whether I was nuts about this. I said, my guess is that during a speech in the course of 5 minutes, I probably make 50 to 100 micro adjustments to what I'm saying based on some little stuff about you're in the third row and you're frowning, and I am desperate to get that frown off your face. And so I use a little bit of a different tone and so on.
Does that kind of factor into the fierce listening that you mentioned in one of your papers? Because it's almost listening beyond just the words. It's listening to the body language.
Absolutely. Well, and this is interesting relative to work from home. There's a Stanford Business School researcher who, it's based on others' research, which is then reinforced by her own, that says your body language is 5 to 7 times more important than the words you use. And, and she says the research is there so you can put a quant number on it. You can say 5 to 7 times more powerful. And, I believe that in spades, which, is another issue where there are quantitative numbers is, I'd always heard the number 7 to 8. And again, I trust the sources. Positive commentary is 30 times more powerful than negative commentary.
Yeah, I heard similar things about 10, 15 years ago where, was it 85% of communication is actually body language. It's not verbal. It's that part. It's significantly more impactful. Yeah.
And I think we can do eyeball body language stuff in work from home, maybe. I am deeply concerned about it.